Bedtime Stories for Kids, Thumbelina, the Tiny Fairy. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village surrounded by meadows and songbirds, lived a kind woman who had everything she needed, except a child. She watched neighbors chase giggling children through gardens, saw mothers hum lullabies by the fireside, and felt her heart ache with longing. "If only I had a daughter," she whispered to the stars each night. "Even if she were no bigger than my thumb, I would love her with all my heart." One day, she visited a wise old woman known for her strange and gentle magic. The old woman listened to her wish, then smiled and handed her a small, golden barleycorn. "Plant this in a flower pot," she said, "and wait." The woman thanked her and hurried home. She filled her prettiest pot with rich soil and planted the seed carefully. Days passed, then weeks. And one morning, just as the sun poured golden light into the window, the soil cracked then. Out bloomed a flower, delicate and glowing, like a tulip kissed by starlight. The petals slowly unfurled, and inside, sleeping peacefully on a velvet petal, was a tiny girl, no bigger than a thumb. The woman gasped in wonder. "You're real," she whispered. The girl stretched, yawned like a kitten, and opened her eyes to tiny twinkles of light. "Mama," she said in a voice softer than wind through reeds. The woman's heart melted. "Yes, my darling, I'm your mama." She named her Thumbelina. Thumbelina grew, though never in size. She was always small enough to sleep in a walnut shell cradle lined with rose petals and bathe in a teacup. But her heart and spirit were as grand as any child's. She rode on the backs of butterflies, sang with the birds, and danced on lily pads. Her voice was sweet and clear, and even bees paused in mid-flight to listen. Her mother built her tiny dresses from silk and daisy threads. They sat in the garden together every morning, laughing in the sunlight. "Do you ever wish to be big like me?" her mother asked once. Thumbelina looked up, thoughtful. "No, I just wish I knew others like me." Her mother hugged her gently. "Someday, perhaps." But one night, while the stars blinked high above, something stirred beneath the windowsill. A pair of warty hands crept over the edge, and with them came a whispering voice. What a pretty little creature. It was a toad, and he wasn't alone. The toad who climbed over the windowsill was large, bumpy, and green, with watery yellow eyes that glimmered in the moonlight. Behind him hopped his Suna, smaller, duller, slower version of himself. They spotted Thumbelina sleeping soundly in her walnut shell bed, curled beneath a tulip petal. "She's perfect," croaked the father. "A fine bride for my boy." Yeah," said the son, blinking slowly. "We'll take her to the riverbank. We'll marry her in the reeds." Before dawn broke, they snatched the shell from the table and carried Thumbelina away in the folds of a damp lily leaf. She stirred only briefly, sighing in her sleep. When she awoke, the sky above was no longer her room's painted ceiling, but endless blue. She sat up and gasped, "Where am I?" The leaf she lay on floated gently in the middle of a wide pond, the shore distant and green. Then, to her horror, she heard the croaking voices again. "We'll keep her on this lily pad until the wedding," said the father toad. "She can't run away out here." I like her hair," the son mumbled. Thumbelina's heart raced. Her eyes filled with tears. "I want to go home," she whispered. "This is your home now," croaked the toad. "We'll return soon, dear daughter-in-law." The toads leaped into the water and disappeared into the reeds. Thumbelina curled up and began to cry. The water rocked her gently, but there was no comfort in it. "Mama, I want mama." But help was near. A dragonfly buzzing past heard her sobs and fluttered close. "Why are you crying, little one?" he asked, hovering over the pad. Thumbelina looked up with wide, frightened eyes. "The toads took me. I don't want to marry a toad." The dragonfly clicked his wings. No one should be forced to marry a toad. "Hold on." He zipped away. Moments later, he returned with a team of insects, beetles, bees, and butterflies. Together, they untied the reed ropes, holding her to the lily pad, and helped her onto the back of a large water beetle. "Hang on tight," said the dragonfly. With a splash and a whoosh, they carried her across the pond to the distant shore, where soft moss and warm sun awaited. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling but grateful. "Be careful," the dragonfly said, patting her shoulder gently. "The world is wide, but there are kind hearts in it." Thumbelina smiled through her tears. "I'll be okay." And so her journey began. Alone, tiny, and far from home yet, with courage in her heart and the sunlight on her face. Autumn came, painting the forest in gold and crimson. Thumbelina wandered through fields and roots, sleeping in tulips, eating dew and berry crumbs, and wrapping herself in fallen petals when the nights grew cold. She missed her mother. She missed her tiny bed and gentle lullabies. But she never stopped singing. "I may be small," she would hum to herself, "but my heart is strong." As the leaves fell and the winds grew sharper, Thumbelina found herself shivering beneath a withered dandelion. "I won't last through winter," she whispered. Just then, a soft voice called out from the roots nearby, "Little one, you'll freeze out here." A plump field mouse poked her head out of a hole in the ground, wrapped in a woolen shawl. "Come inside, child," she said kindly. "My burrow is warm, and I have plenty of grain." Grateful and chilled to the bone, Thumbelina followed her underground. The field mouse's home was cozy and full of comfort. Shelves made of nutshells, walls lined with wool, and dried herbs hanging from the ceiling. Thumbelina helped sweep and cook. She sang while she worked, and the field mouse came to love her like a daughter. "You're polite, hardworking, and sweet," she said proudly one evening. "You would make the perfect wife for someone." Thumbelina laughed shyly. "I don't think I'm meant to marry yet." "Oh, but you must meet my neighbor," said the mouse. "He's wealthy and quiet. A fine match. He'll come for tea tomorrow." The next day, the neighbor arrived, a mole, old, slow, and blind as a stone. He wore a velvet waistcoat and spoke in a deep rumble, always complaining about how noisy the world above ground was. "Sunlight is overrated," he muttered, "in birds such noisy creatures." Thumbelina felt her heart sink. Still, she was polite. She served him tea. She even sang for him when the field mouse insisted. The mole was enchanted by her voice. "Charming," he said. "Yes, very charming. I should like to marry this girl." "Wonderful," squeaked the mouse. "You'll live underground with him forever, my dear. No more danger from the wild." Thumbelina's smile faded. Forever, underground. Without sunlight, without birds, without the sky. She said nothing that night, curling up in a walnut shell bed and crying quietly beneath a soft clover blanket. She dreamed of stars, of petals, of open air. "I can't live in darkness," she whispered, "even if it's safe." But the mouse and mole had already begun planning the wedding. As winter deepened, Thumbelina helped the mole dig tunnels, though her heart was heavy. The field mouse often reminded her, "You should be grateful. A mole may be blind, but he is rich. You'll never be cold again." But Thumbelina missed the light. One chilly afternoon, the mole invited them to see his prized tunnel that led to an old root cellar. As they walked through the dark passage, Thumbelina noticed something: a small bundle of feathers, motionless in the corner. She rushed over. "It's a bird!" she cried. "A swallow!" The mole snorted. "Useless things, leave it, it's surely dead." But Thumbelina knelt beside the creature and gently laid her hand on its chest. "He's still breathing," she whispered. "He's just cold." While the others walked on, Thumbelina stayed. She returned every night with crumbs and warm cloth. She placed moss beneath the swallow's body and sang to him softly in the candlelight. And one night, as spring stirred in the trees above, the swallow opened his eyes. "Little one," he rasped, "you saved me." "Rest," she said gently. "You're safe now." As the snow melted, the swallow grew stronger. He flapped his wings once more. "Come with me," he said. "I'll fly to warm lands. You don't belong under the earth." Thumbelina looked toward the dark tunnel that led back to the mole's den. The wedding was planned for the next full moon. She thought of her mother, her dreams, her longing to live under the sky again. "Yes," she whispered, "take me with you." She climbed onto the swallow's back, light as a petal, and they soared out of the ground up through the moss, into the open air. Sunlight touched her face. For the first time in months, she smiled with her whole heart. "I'm free," she said. "And flying," the swallow chirped. They traveled over mountains and meadows until they reached a land where the air was warm and flowers bloomed year-round. The swallow brought her to a field filled with tulips and wild lilies. "This is the land of the flower folk," he told her. "There are others like you." He flew to the heart of the glade and landed beside a blossom that was just beginning to open. From within the petals stepped a boy no taller than Thumbelina, with golden hair, shimmering wings, and a crown of dew-covered ivy. He smiled when he saw her. "Welcome," he said. "I have never seen anyone like you." Thumbelina blushed. "Nor I." He took her hand, and his touch was light as wind on water. "Will you stay here, with us?" "I would like that," she said softly. "Very much." The flower folk danced around them, sprinkling petals in the air. The tiny prince called for the smallest crown of blossoms and gently placed it on her head. "Then, let us call you Queen Thumbelina, daughter of the flower." The swallow sang from above, a sweet, soaring melody that echoed through the sky. Thumbelina, once lost and lonely, now stood in a land where she belonged, among light, petals, wings, and joy. And from that day forward, she lived happily, in a world just her size, with a heart bigger than any flower.